All right, so just come on into a comfortable seat. I wore my rainbow pants for you today. And at first, don't worry about the block between your feet. If you want to sit on the block or just sit in a way that's comfortable for you. And we'll just take a second to breathe. So don't even worry about any particular positioning of your body or what's happening. And if you'd actually prefer to lay down or come onto your belly or child's pose, that's totally fine too. And all I really want you to do is just take a moment, and whether the breath is moving through your nose or through your mouth, just take a handful of breaths just to kind of remind yourself that you're here, that you're present. There was a little blip on the Today Show this morning of a mom who had taught her 3-year-old that when he got worked up, just to take a few deep breaths, because he wanted something and he was getting all worked up and he was starting to cry. And it was just cute because the way she was teaching him, like ujjayi breath, it was a very like a like out through his lips. But he took 3 breaths like that, and it actually helped him calm down quite a bit. And then she told him to, shake it off, and so he shook it off, and then he basically just asked for some goldfish. He wanted a treat. So maybe in our own way, letting our yoga practice be our goldfish or our treat at the moment, and just take a few deep breaths just to kind of settle it in. And if you do feel like there's any kind of distracting energy that's kind of trying to pull you back, maybe give it a little shake out or shake out your head, or just, move your body in a way to kind of envision just letting it go, brushing it off. And then just totally in your own time, start to let your chin just drop in towards your chest. And then start to let your ear just shift from shoulder to shoulder. And just going nice and slow, so you can start to unwind it a little bit. If you feel any sticky spots along the way, that you could pause, or maybe even avoid it if it's something that's that uncomfortable. And then the next time your ear drops over to the right, just pause there for a moment. And if you want, extend out through your left hand or left fingers, and kind of just let yourself play a little bit with what happens if you turn your chin down or roll your chin to the sky. And I know I have a tendency to start class a lot with this neck and shoulder opening, and I feel like it's just something that I know I personally need a little bit more than I might have before all this time started with COVID and such, because I know I tend to kind of bunch up my shoulders or even just sleep funny. So you're always welcome to start a different way if you prefer. And then just let your chin just rock into the center, and then over to the left shoulder, or whatever shoulder you didn't just do. And I know for myself right now, this side feels a little bit more sticky, so I'm being a little bit more hesitant with letting my head go super heavy. So, give yourself that space too. And then when you let your chin just roll in towards the center, if you'd like, take your hands towards your legs or your lap, and then just round your spine like you're doing cat's breath. And then you can lift up, and if it feels good, lift the chest. You might even gaze up. Just don't let your head collapse back if you can avoid it. And then coil back, kind of like you're pulling back your chest, your belly. And then you start to sit up really nice and tall. One more time, coiling back. Now, the next thing sometimes makes me cough, so if it does it to you too, just know that it's possible. Let yourself look up, but then take your jawbone, your bottom teeth, and kind of push your jaw up to the ceiling to stretch the front of your throat. And then you can open your mouth really wide and stick out your tongue. It looks silly, I know. And then nice and easy, just let your tongue come back in. You can let yourself close your mouth, bring your head back into neutral. Take a second here just to recross your legs if you are in a cross-legged seat, just so you're not favoring a hip. And then just take a gentle twist over to the right. And really just a super subtle twist. We'll get the chance to twist deeper in a bit. And then come through the center and then twist over to the left or the opposite side. And then just come on into the center, and one more time, just round the spine like you're doing cat's breath. And then come on up tall. If you want to, lift the chest. You might even look up, and you can open the throat if that felt good. And then just come back into a neutral spine. And once again, just start to let your chin, ear roll from shoulder to shoulder. And if you find a spot, we'll pause on one side in a moment, but what I'd like you to do, instead of me telling you which side to pause on the side you feel like you need a little bit more attention to. And just give yourself that moment there. And then it's up to you. You can lean off further if you'd like to, or extend out through the opposite hand. Just if there's something you want to enhance the sensation with, go right ahead. But at the same time, if there's something you want to reel back the sensation on, definitely do that. And then you can just start to let the chin roll back into the center. Use your hand to help you if you need it. And then just go up and over to the opposite side. And just take a moment there to pause. Eyes can be opened or closed, and again, if you want to reach out to the opposite hand, just starting to let your neck, shoulders start to unwind. And then let your head come back in towards a neutral position. If you are sitting on the block, you can slide off of it. Some of you might even want to stay on it if you have 2 blocks to use. And then just take your feet into bound angle, Baddha Konasana. If you have a block, take it at the most narrow point and put it between your feet. And if you don't worry about it. You're just going to push into your feet, or if you want to even use like a water bottle, or if you have something else that's handy, you could always squeeze that instead. I feel the need to kind of use my hands behind me to sit up tall, but that's up to you. And what I'd like you to try to do is really press into your heels the most, ball of the foot second. And I open up the toes because I know if I don't, I'll grip it with my toes. So I'd rather you try not to grip it with your toes if you can avoid it. You don't have to extra flare them. I just have really hypermobile toes, so that's just the way they look. And then just letting yourself sit tall. And you can kind of have a couple moments if you want of like pushing really hard. Maybe take a few breaths there and then soften it some if it feels like it gets to be too much. Or you could try to keep a consistent pressure, but just let yourself feel that there's sensation between your feet rather than just letting your feet hang out. And then if you have a block, let yourself start to soften it. Turn the block wider. If you have something else that can make wider, go ahead. And if you don't have a block, don't even worry about it. Maybe pull your heels closer to you, or even push your feet further away if you want to. That'll change the sensation too. And then kind of focus the extra pressure into your heels. Balls of the foot second. Try to avoid gripping with your toes if you can. If you can't help it, don't worry about it. Give it another breath. And then again, if you can, let the block go wider. For some of us, this might be too wide, so if it's really uncomfortable, go back to the medium width, and then just give it a little press. And I say a little press because I don't want it to be like a straining action, but you know, you're trying to put some effort into it. And then all we do is go back the other direction. So when you're ready, go back to the medium point and try to wiggle your feet together, give it a press. If you've been doing my birthday challenge, your legs might be getting tired. I know mine are. I've been very lazy this past year, so I'm feeling it, which is a good thing. That's why I want to do it, actually. So then here, let your block go down to the skinniest point, or if you don't have a block, you might be starting to go down to your feet pressing into each other and sitting up even taller. We're all going to do that in a moment. And then from there, you can take the block out, bring your feet all the way together. And then for me, I feel the urge to scoot my hips closer to my heels. You might feel more of the urge to go further away. Whatever's going to like take advantage of having this little bit of extra space. And then usually when I forward fold in this position, I like to keep my hands there to support me so my back stays really long. Just let yourself draw forward. If it feels comfortable to you to round your spine a little bit, no problem. I just would be careful about how much you're pulling yourself in. And then when you're ready, draw yourself up. You can use your hands to help your legs if you'd like to. Just take your feet wide. It's probably going to feel kind of good to just windshield wiper your legs for a moment. And then the next time they drop to the right, you're going to end up turning away from me. Just let yourself spin and keep turning all the way away from the camera, and just let yourself get that stretch through your side waist. And then you can come on through the center and just let your knees drop the opposite direction and just let yourself turn around to the other way. Just a gentle spine unwinding. And then when you're ready, just come back towards the center, and then however you wish, just work your way towards hands and knees. If you want a down dog moment first, feel free to let yourself go up higher and lift your hips high to the sky, but if it's okay, just give yourself a couple rounds of cat and cow when you get here. Again, if you feel the urge to lengthen your legs, because they have been bent for a while, don't hesitate to do so. You can let yourself lift the hips up to down dog or even a forward fold. But we're going to be coming into threading the needle in a moment, so just press down into your right hand, take the left arm up to the sky, and then just let the left arm come underneath the right, head and shoulder coming down to the mat. And you choose any variation you wish. Like to me, I have the urge to twist deeper, so I'm going to press into my right hand. You could wrap your arm behind you or extend it forward. Just kind of letting yourself sink in heavy to your left shoulder. And I'm not sure which of you it is because I can't see my camera that well from over here, especially because I'm facing the other way. But somebody isn't muted. It's no big deal. I just don't want you to make a noise and then realize I can hear you. And then let your right hand come down. Let your left arm come on up. Then let your left hand come down. Take your right arm up. And then let your right arm come underneath the left, head and shoulder just sinking in. And again, you choose. You can press into a deeper twist. You can wrap the arm behind you, extend it forward. You can even reach the arm up to the sky. Just let it be kind of organic in however you want to move. And on the next inhale, press into your left hand, take the right arm up. And then exhale, take both hands down. Now, we're going to come into dolphin, but with the understanding that your shoulders aren't necessarily super warm right now. So let it be really generous. So bring your hands down. I like to interlace, but you can go flat palms if you want. If you take your legs wider, it's going to be a bit more comfortable this early in the practice. So it's up to you. You can take your feet closer if that works for you. Bending your knees a lot will help, because what I'd like you to focus on is pressing your chest back between your arms, not necessarily that your legs are straight. And then think of it just like when we do our first down dog. Just take a second here. It might just be staying still. That's what I feel more of the urge to do, but you could walk out your legs or lift one of your legs to the sky, any of the other movement that we do sometimes when you're in this space. It might even just be a simple shake out of your head, lifting up onto your tippy toes or sinking your heels down. And then from there, just start to let your feet walk back, whoop, sliding on the floor, let yourself come all the way down to your belly. And then just take a moment to pause, press into your hands, and just draw your chest forward. So just Bhujangasana, Cobra Pose. I'm doing it in Sphinx, but you can do it with whatever hand position. Just think of it as a chance to lengthen your spine. And then we're going to do my favorite shoulder opening, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with me, but take your right arm out in line with your right shoulder and then flip the palm to the sky. And then just press into your left hand and roll your left toes behind you. Try to let your head relax to the ground if it will. And you can do any other variations from here you enjoy, clasping the hands or anything like that you want. About 3 more breaths. I'll give you a heads up before we move in case you want to do something extra. And then when you're getting ready to unwind, go kind of slow. You might even just give yourself a moment to come to the belly, pause. You can rest your head on your hands if you'd like to. And then from there, extend the left arm out inside, in line with your left shoulder, palm to the sky. Right hand slides in, and then just rolling yourself open. And let yourself sink in. Trying to be as heavy onto the floor as you can, but depending on how tight you're feeling, your dominant arm, your shoulders, where tension might be lying, just be nice to yourself. And then nice and easy, let yourself roll back down towards your belly. Slide your hands under the shoulders. We're going to push back onto our shins for a moment. So just letting yourself come up to sit up onto your shins. If that bothers your knees at all, let your feet slide out in front of you. It has nothing to do with what's happening with the upper body, so don't worry about how you sit. I'm going to turn around so you can see what's happening better though. Just let yourself take your left arm out to the side. Flip the palm down and then let your hand kind of work over as far to your ribs as you can on the right side. And then if you can, press your palms together, but then wrap your right elbow in. Now, if you can't get your hand all the way to the side of the ribs, like mine's barely doing it, you can let the palm stay at your back, make a fist with your other hand, and then just press. But the important part is wrapping that right shoulder back. And then just sitting tall for a moment, and soften along your jaw. You can even drop your chin to the chest if you'd rather. And just notice if you stop thinking about your arm, it kind of flops out. Keep thinking about wrapping it back. Then from here, use your left hand to take the right fingers, that's the elbow that's off to the side, bring it right up in between your shoulders. You can even hook onto your top or your clothing if you have something there to hold on to. And then maybe take the left arm up and either bring your fingers down to try to touch, or like I'm just holding on to my yoga top. If you have a strap handy, you can use it. But just think more left elbow to the ceiling, right elbow to the floor. Doesn't matter if your hands are touching. And then here, just unwind your hands. You can just take them out wide, up high to the sky. And then let your arms drop behind you. If you need a second to get off your knees, go right ahead. Take the right hand, let it come behind you, and you're trying to work it so it wraps around your ribs, palm to palm, but if that won't work, stop it where it stops, and then just let your left fist come. But think about wrapping that left elbow back. And I know for me, this side's harder, because it's technically my right side, it's my dominant side, so you might notice one side feels different than the other. Think about trying to squeeze the elbows towards each other, and especially the right one, it's not going to move very much. Give it another breath where you are. And then you can use your right hand to kind of wiggle the left fingers up between your shoulders to whatever degree they'll go. Right arm can come on up, and then you can let yourself bring the right fingers around towards the left. If they don't touch, like on this side, mine don't touch at all, just let yourself land where they are. Think right elbow ceiling, left elbow floor. And then when you're ready from there, just inhale, draw your arms up, and then exhale, let the hands come on down. And then just walk yourself forward, and then when you're ready, down dog, or if you like dolphin better, that's totally fine. It's more of a chance to lengthen out your legs. We are going to do a shoulder opening like that in the practice, which you don't have to have a strap, but if you have something that could be used as a strap nearby, towel, whatever might be around, I might use my leg warmer, but even then you don't have to actually clasp your hands. But in the down dog or dolphin shape, take a second, kind of play with lifting up onto the tippy toes, dropping your heels again. I know for me right now it feels kind of nice to exaggerate the opening of the shoulders, but if you do have hypermobile shoulders, Amy, I know who you are, let yourself kind of pull back just a little bit, just so you don't sink in there too much. And then when you feel ready, we're just going to walk up towards our hands. So just coming into a forward fold, take your time getting there, and when you do, maybe just take a moment to widen up your legs. Could be opposite elbow or some other arm variation that just feels comfortable in the moment. Just give your head a little shake out. If by chance you're congested or headachy, don't make yourself stay in the forward fold if you'd rather get tall. And then however you'd like to come up to standing, rolling spine, long spine, just let yourself start to draw all the way up. Reach the arms up to the sky. And then just exhale, let the hands just come on into the heart and pause for a moment. And close your eyes as you wish. Now as we start to come into movement together, this is the first time I've seen a lot of you since the beginning of the new year. So, is there any offering you're trying to make into this space? And I don't mean resolutions, I don't mean promises you're trying to make to yourself that may even not be possible to keep. Just energy you want to shift, changes you want to make, maybe just things you want to come back to embracing, like happiness or silliness. I know my friend Sharon says that, she says a little prayer in bed every morning, and just to remind herself just to deal with one day at a time, because that's all you really can do. And it's a good reminder for all of us. So as we start to move, maybe just let yourself think of it as just dealing with each movement at a time. So as you inhale, you can open the eyes as you wish, draw the arms up to the sky. On the exhale, forward fold. It's going to be a slightly different version of a namaskar, so inhale, just take a halfway lift. On the exhale, just step straight back into downward facing dog and just pause there. Now if you have any wrist or shoulder things going on and you wanted to stay still, I would invite you to, or let yourself roll forward to a high plank. Again, you can stay in high plank, or maybe you lower to chaturanga, lengthen that tailbone down. Inhale, lift the heart up dog or hips down in cobra, and then just pull all the way up and back, downward facing dog. Take a second to widen up your feet, and if your heels don't comfortably shorten your stance a little bit just so you can feel really grounded. And then press into your right hand, left hand either to the right foot or just underneath your right arm if the foot's too far away. And then just bring your left hand back to the center. Right hand towards the left foot. So just a gentle twist, just looking up underneath your arm.
Then come back to the center, and then here, walk your hands to the feet. So you're at the back of the mat for a moment. Bend your knees enough you feel supported and slide your hands up your thighs. Roll yourself up, kind of like you're doing cat's breath. Inhale, sweep the arms high. Right arm comes down, left arm sweeps up and over. Gaze can be high or low. Inhale up to the center. Let your left arm come on down, right arm up and over. And then inhale, come on up into the center. Exhale, let your hands come behind your back. And here's where you might want to grab a strap if you have it. Interlace your hands and then tuck the shoulders down the back. And then forward fold. If you need to change the width of your feet, whether closer together or further apart, go right ahead. Give a little shake to your neck. And I know for me, this is really not a comfortable position without a strap. So don't be afraid if you even just want to let go of your hands to let go. Then just exhale, let your hands start to come down towards the floor. Walk forward enough, you can lower down your shins. And then lower down your forearms for preparation for dolphin. Curl the toes under, lift your hips. Again, letting your head just press back through your arms. Trying to have your head off the floor. It might be close. Now we're going to shift into forearm plank for a moment. Just start to walk your feet back if you need to. Shift your shoulders forward so shoulders are over your elbows. Spin your heels over to the right. And you can either keep the hips lifted or dip them down a little bit. Come on up to the center. Over towards the left, either stay center or a little bit of a dip. Come on into the center, just puff up between your shoulders, hold just for a second. And then here, just release your feet, your thighs down to the mat. Either shift so you're onto your forearms or you can slide your hands back, just coming into Cobra, Bhujangasana. And then when you're ready, just take a little dip down. Either reverse the push-up to down dog or you can roll through, whatever feels better for you. And then just take a moment once you get into down dog, just to pause, keep the hips high. Take an inhale, take your right leg up to the sky. Right foot's gonna step forward. Come on into warrior one. Grounding your left heel, and then just draw the arms up. Now, take your left hand, so that will be the opposite of the leg that's forward. Turn the palm to face back and let it slide between your shoulders. Now, you can use your right hand to help hold it there if you'd like, because we're just gonna lean forward. Or if you want to take the right hand around, so you're coming into the Gomukhasana arms, the cow face arms, you can do that too. But we're actually trying to lengthen the elbow to the side of the room or to the front of your mat rather than the floor. So it's not about rounding the back, keep your spine kind of long. Now it's up to you. You can stay or you're gonna shift into warrior three. I'm pulling back a little bit, so I'm gonna hit the wall if I don't. So let yourself kind of reach. And then see if you can float the left leg. And don't worry if you freak out, you'll put your arms down. Then start to let your left foot come down to the mat. Lengthen your right leg. Now we're just gonna forward fold halfway, but if you're concerned about your low back, let your hands go, that's more important. Let yourself just lengthen. Reach the left elbow towards the front of the mat. You can take a tiny bend in the right knee, especially if you feel like you might be hyperextending. And then inhale, take a breath, come all the way up for a second. Release the arms, open them up. Now we're going to turn to face the long edge of the mat. Now we're going to take the wide straddle with the hands clasped behind you. So if you think you might want to use your strap, I'm going to use my leg warmers, whatever you happen to have handy, go right ahead, or just clasping your hands. And then just take a forward fold and let yourself sink in. Now you can just stay in this straight up forward fold. I feel more of the urge to kind of swing from one side and then to the other. So feel free if you want to move a little bit. You might want to lift up some and then sink in some. You might try to draw the arms closer to the ground. Just basically listen to your own shoulders. Sorry, I was trying to blow a big clump of dog hair off my mat, but it didn't work. And then nice and easy, you can start to inhale, come all the way up. Inhale, you can release whatever you're holding, draw the arms high. And then exhale, hands coming towards the heart. Just take a peek over the right shoulder, that's the front of your mat. Turn around to the face of the front of the mat, lower your left shin down, and then just lengthen your right leg. Just coming into a half split. I'm just gonna pull my mat back a little bit because I'm gonna smush into the wall. And I'm sorry if you're missing Tank, he's upstairs. I didn't want to confuse him because I brought the Christmas tree down here, but it's not put away properly yet, and it would have really confused him to be bumping around into it. So you can take a moment, flex your toes, and then point your toes. You can use your hand if you want a little extra help.
Now we're gonna get a little deeper into the quadricep today, the quadricep on the back leg. So be nice to yourself. So as you sink in towards the right knee, you might take your hands to the inside of your leg. I usually scoop my knee back a little bit so I'm not on my kneecap. And then the lower your chest is, at least I find, it's a little bit more subtle on this back leg. So you can pull the left heel into your glute. You might reach back for it with the opposite or even the same hand. But see if you can kind of play with maybe opening the chest and then maybe drawing the foot towards you. And just trying to get a little bit more space in the quadricep, hip flexor, all of that fun, juicy, psoas-y stuff. All that stuff that gets cranky. Now the next time you draw your foot closer to your glutes, maybe stay there for a sec. Then when you feel ready, you're gonna inhale, let your upper body rise up. Heel toe your right foot like you're coming to half pigeon, but try to keep your chest high. And you might even go so far as to put, if you have a block or a pillow under your right hip, try to lift up your chest as much as you can. So you're gonna feel a little bit of a deeper stretch on that left quad. If it's bothering your back though, forward fold, because I don't want your back to go into spasm. If you feel like there's a chance you might be able to take your arms up, go right ahead. Again, if it's feeling like it's causing more tension, don't do that. And then when you feel ready, you can exhale the hands down. If you are sitting on a prop, wiggle it out, let your hips drop to the side, swing your left leg around, and then just prepping for a twist. So you can either keep your heels close or you can extend the bottom leg and then just give a twist over to the left. And if you went right, doesn't matter, we're gonna do both anyway. And then just give a little twist away from your leg or whatever direction you didn't just go. Now come back to the center. We're actually gonna move into standing split. So if you feel like this might be a compromise for your knees, unwind your legs and just stand up, or I'm gonna use my blocks to help me. Press into your left foot and then just reach the right leg up to the sky. Now it could look like standing split. You could lift up more like a halfway lift if you wanted to. Depending on the mood, we're still gonna have a chance for an arm balance, but if you wanna really push into your hands and kick up like a handstand, if you wanna take your hands off the ground and play with balance, go right ahead. And then just stay at the top of the mat, lower the right foot, try the left foot. And there's no rush. If you're jumping around or you're playing, have fun. Let yourself have that space. Again, keeping the gaze slightly forward will help you with your balance. If you wanna really test it, you might drop your head. And then just take a moment, lower down both feet. Just stay at the top of the mat for a moment. Ease your way up to standing, however you wish. Draw the arms up high. And then just exhale, hands back into the heart. Inhale, sweeping up. On the exhale, forward fold. Inhale, take a halfway lift. And then once again, rather than chaturanga first, go right to down dog. Give yourself a moment just to pause and press back. Take your feet a little bit on the wider side. And then depending on how this is feeling, maybe you don't have to shorten your stance, but do it if you need to. Press into your right hand, left hand towards right foot, or underneath the right arm. Now the next thing I admit is totally to mess with you a little bit, so if you're not in the mood, don't do it, but try to shift into the right foot and see if you can pick up the left leg. And just a little balance play, stability play. If it makes you mad, don't do it. And then when you're ready, you can bring the left foot down, left hand down, switch sides, and you might notice one side you actually feel stronger than the other. You can kind of sneak and keep your right hand on the ground. It helps. Maybe floating the right leg. Whoop. And then eventually, both feet will come down. Let yourself slide so you can lower down your shins. And then just take a second, check a child's pose just so you can take the weight out of your hands, because that might have been a lot of your weight in your hands. Roll out your fingers. Then from here, just let yourself press down, curl your toes under. We're coming to a forward fold at the back of the mat. Just walk yourself towards the back of the mat. Now I'm gonna turn so you can see better what I'm doing. Press into your left foot. You might wanna block under your left hand. Try to float your right leg up to the side, maybe as high as your hip. Then if you want, come up onto your right fingertips. You might try to float the left arm up to the side. And if you're feeling really crazy, you might take both arms out to the side. And then just simply let everything come on in. You can either fold in or stand tall if you need a second.
Press into your right foot, take the left leg, trying to go for hip height. You might stay with the left fingertips down and maybe start to float the right arm out, think like an airplane. And then maybe left arm comes up too. Whoop. And then eventually just let everything come back down to the mat as gracefully as possible. And then lower your shins. Either take a pause in child's pose or coming into dolphin. So interlacing the fingers, lifting the hips. Now you might be starting to feel more comfortable here, so letting yourself have that space. Now a little shoulder strengthener. If you have any shoulder issues, I'd be very careful here. Take your feet wider for balance. Just push into your left arm and take your right arm maybe behind your back. But if you're concerned about it, just let the fingers stay out to the side. That way you can always bring them back if you need them. And then you can let your right arm come down. Changing sides, so left arm behind the back or maybe left fingers out to the side. But try to push out of that right shoulder. Give it another breath. And then easy, both forearms down. Take a pause, lower both shins. You might want to take child's pose or even embryo. You can take your hands back. So we're coming into forearm plank in a second. I confess the next thing might piss you off a little bit, but it's fun, right? So here, come on into your forearm plank. I'm just turning so you can see. So you're in a forearm plank. Now you pick. Right leg can come to tree or try to hover it. And then bring it back. And then left leg either into tree or try to hover it. Try not to let that butt get too high. And then bring both feet back. And then coming in, cobra. So whether it's Bhujangasana, coming onto your hands, you might even want to start to go more towards up dog. Feel free. And then in a moment, down dog. So letting yourself take any transition you want all the way up and back. And then your left leg will be reaching up to the sky. And then stepping forward into warrior one. Grounding your right heel, and then arms come up. Now we're going to do that shoulder opening again. So if you don't like it by any chance, do a different version. Right hand, the arm that's opposite of the leg forward, is going to flip behind you, in between the shoulders at the top. Then the left arm, you could either come around like you're going to try to do the Gomukhasana arms, or you can use your elbow to your hand rather to guide the elbow forward. At first, keeping your knee bent and just lean out. And if you feel like it's kind of too much weight on your head, like I do on that side, let the elbow of the arm come out from behind you. Sink a little deeper into the left knee. So I've been reading Matthew McConaughey's new book. I was telling Deb about this at the beginning. And one of the things that he does is yoga. Yay, yoga. Now here, draw up. You can start to lengthen your left leg. Now again, only going halfway. So if you need to use your hands, please use them. But think of more of extending your chest forward. Now you can either stay here or we're going to move into warrior three. Warrior three, take a little bend in that left knee. Start to float that right leg behind you. I happen to be close enough to the wall. I can use the wall for balance. Very convenient. And then when you're ready, let the right foot come on back down. That was graceful. Sorry. Let yourself come on up. You didn't see, I almost took a header. Now draw your arms up. Turn towards the right, so you're facing the long edge of the mat. Excuse my butt to the camera. Now, one more time, clasping the hands. If you did clasp, try to reverse the grip if you can remember what you need to do. Maybe grabbing a strap, a towel, whatever you have handy, and then just forward fold, Prasarita. And then your call, you can stay in the straight up forward fold, or maybe there's a little swish swish of your body, side to side, a little shake out of your head. Sometimes it's even nice to bend one knee and then the other. There's not a right or wrong, just a chance to kind of rinse it out. And then inhale, start to work towards a halfway lift. Eventually just coming all the way up tall. You can release the strap or whatever you might be holding. Toes out, heels in. Come on into goddess for a moment. And you can either keep your hands on your thighs for a little more support, or if you want to hover the arms in some fashion, go right ahead. Just taking a moment to maybe have a little bit of a pulse. And then start to lengthen the legs. Gaze over your left shoulder, that's the front of the mat, turning all the way forward. You can lower down the right shin, and then just lengthen your left leg. And then you can choose here to kind of flex or point your foot and give yourself a little angling of your foot
from side to side. And then we're heading towards that lizard with the quad opening. So as you bend into left knee, I like to go a little bit wider just so I can drop on the inside of my leg and move the right knee back, dropping down as you wish. And then you can start to pull the right heel towards your glute. You might be reaching back for it with your hand. Whew, this leg's a lot tighter than the other one. And maybe you notice that too, so be nice to yourself. And kind of play with drawing. Sorry, I'm trying not to scream at the moment. I don't know why this leg is so much tighter. It's terrible. But this is why we do it, so you can try to get some space. Give it a couple of breaths. Gotta breathe this one out. Now when you're ready to unwind it, you can let your right foot come on down. Here's the half pigeon shape, but we're keeping the body tall. So you might want to use the block under the left hip. That just makes it so you don't have to balance as challenged. Your balance isn't as challenged, Sitting up tall, maybe the arms come up. There's definitely a bit of an arch to your back here though, so if it's compressing or feeling like it's making it really taut, just lean forward. That should take some of the pressure off. And if you need to, just let yourself sink down. And then if you do have a prop, you're gonna let yourself probably let that sneak out from underneath you. Swing the right leg around, so you're coming in towards the twist. You can always straighten out the bottom leg if you want to. Twisting towards the knee first, but if you went the other way, it's not a problem. And then just coming around, twisting the other way. Good. Now again, we're coming up through standing split. If that feels like it's too big of a get up for the knees or any other part of your body, just unwind your legs and stand, or press into the right foot. You can use the blocks, or maybe you try not to even use your hands. Draw the left leg high. You can play with the handstand or maybe picking your hands up. I like to wrap the legs behind each other sometimes and kind of squeeze in and then extend. And then just after a couple of breaths on one side, give yourself a chance to try the other one. They'll probably feel slightly off balance because you're doing a little bit more on one leg than the other, but just finding a bit of balance here. And then let both of your feet come on down. Take them a little bit on the wider side in a malasana, in a squat, and then sink in. And then, especially for those of you who know you can sit here all day long, which if I remember correctly, pretty much all of you can, lift your bum just a little bit so you feel like you have to work. Think of when you were in Baddha Konasana in the bound angle, squeezing the block. Think of it as that same type of action. So you try to squeeze the legs in towards each other, but the elbows are helping you resist it. And then from there, hands can come down to the earth. Lift the hips, just forward fold for a sec. Maybe a little shake out of the head, doesn't have to be big movement. And then when you're ready to, you're gonna inhale, come all the way up to stand. And then exhale, the hands into the heart. Now this next round on each of the legs, there's gonna be a little bit more option for hopping and floating, and just know it's totally optional. You might be feeling a little bit more grounded today, or maybe you wanna kind of play around, so just let it be your own space. Inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky. Don't worry about the depth of your feet, how wide they are. Exhale, and just forward fold for a moment. Inhale, take a halfway lift, lengthen your spine. Like we've been doing, just step right back to downward facing dog. Now, let your head drop in. Now, if you want to, this time it's gonna be a little bit more challenging, is that you can let yourself take one of your hands, rather than bringing your right hand towards your left foot, you might try to take it behind your back, and then either start to pick up the left foot and maybe reach back for your foot. If you do, gaze forward, push the foot away. And if you flip, just pretend you flipped your dog, or you just kind of fell out of down dog. I'm not doing it very gracefully myself. And then when you're ready, you can release both feet, and then either left hand to right ankle in front of you, that's what you've been doing, or take the right ankle up to the sky. Looking forward does actually help, and then reaching back towards the right foot with the left hand. Push the foot away. The more you let your foot kind of squirm around, the harder it is to get stable. And I couldn't do it anyway. Then let both feet drop in, let your head drop in. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Just for a second, let yourself inhale, come all the way up, just in case, because I want you to be able to see. Let your hands come on into the heart. So the second round, if you want, when we ground down, you're gonna lift the foot again, but if you want to, you're gonna hold the foot, lift it, and maybe stand all the way up.
and then fold back in. Don't worry, it might be messy as hell. It's totally fine. But so just take an inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Now just ground into your left foot. Either hold the right toe and pick up the right foot, or just see if you can pick up the right foot. Don't even worry about how high it goes. Then maybe start to float the left arm out to the left, and then either stay there or try to stand all the way up. You can even bring the leg out in front of you. Awesome. Now, if you're concerned, let go on the way. But if you want to try to fold. And then it's like you close up the book. Just close everything back in. Ooh, God, it's terrible. Who comes up with this stuff? And then right hand down, holding on to your left foot. You can always use your sneaky block if it happens to be nearby. Floating the left leg. Maybe floating the right arm. Once you get all that goodness going on, maybe you stand all the way up. Wasn't it? And then maybe you put everything back down as casually as possible. And then letting yourself start to walk your hands forward like you're coming to down dog, but lower your shins. And then one more time in dolphin. But now, this time it won't be balancing hand to foot or anything. It'll be kicking if you feel like kicking. And if you don't, you don't. So bringing your hands together, try to be sure that your elbows are shoulder distance. Dolphin. And then if you want to, walk your toes in. The higher you get your hips over the shoulders, more likely you're going upside down. So you can lift one leg, whatever leg you feel more confident about. Maybe take a couple little hops. You can always bend the leg that you're pushing off with. I have a little bit more of a back bend going right now. If you want to try to go straight up and down, think like plank. Give yourself a pause when you need a pause. Excellent. Look forward a little bit. Give yourself a break. Let yourself play. And then when you're ready, try the other side. Try to get your hips as high over the shoulders first. I find looking forward very helpful. Some people prefer to drop the head. That's more challenging. And like, we all have a leg we like to push off with a little bit more. This isn't it for me. And then eventually take a pause. Take child's pose. And if it wants embryo, hands by your feet, just to give yourself a moment to get off your shoulders. And then here, there's one more forearm plank. And again, this one will be a little bit extra yucky. So if you don't like it, don't do it. I'm gonna turn towards you. So forearm plank. Now, you're either gonna take the right leg into tree, you're gonna float it, or you're gonna try to pull it as far forward as you can. And I'm trying to keep it off the floor, but it's not staying off the ground. So if you can, try to keep it off the ground. And then eventually just bring it back. And then left leg into tree. You can float it out to the side. You can pull it forward. Trying to keep it up off the ground if you can, but don't worry if you can't, because I can't either. I know, Deb. Oh, I know whose sound it was now. I hear that voice. And then let yourself bring it back. And then lower down towards your belly. Now here, it might feel better to start to get opening into your shoulders bigger. So if you'd rather do up dog, or maybe even coming into bow, reaching back towards your ankles, just do something to help you stretch the front side of your body. And then we'll be meeting in down dog. So when you're ready, and take your time, however you want to get there, bringing it back. Now this time, inhale, take your right leg up. Step your right foot forward, this time into warrior two. And then just draw yourself high. Now we're gonna do something a little bit sneaky. What I want you to try to think about is side angle, or reverse warrior, because I want your chest to keep facing the side of the mat. So at first, reverse your warrior, climb up and back. And then come over to side angle, and there, just pause for a second. So in a moment, we're coming into half moon. But what I'd like you to consider the idea is not just reaching for your left foot with your left hand, that's the hand we usually do, maybe thinking about the right hand too. If you're gonna do the right hand, I would slide the right hand to your low back now, so it's already not touching the floor, because that's harder to try to pick it back up. Look down, start to slide forward, floating the left leg. Now try not to roll your chest to the floor. Reach back for the left ankle with the left hand, and then maybe with the right hand. But you're trying to keep facing the side of the room. And I'm totally cheating, my head's on the wall. So maybe if you have a wall nearby or a couch nearby, put your head on something. Give it a breath. And then as calm as you can, release the left leg, draw back, lengthen it out, just preparation for triangle. So if you fell, don't worry, just come back. And then pull the right hip back, and then just coming in, Trikonasana, triangle pose. Now, I know a couple of you might bite at this, and don't feel like you have to if you're not in the mood. You can stay still, or bring your left hand to the mat, spin to the outer edge of the left foot, and start to take that right leg up to the sky, coming into Vashisthasana, side plank. If you don't feel like it, don't worry about it, because we're going to come right back together in Warrior Two. And then if you did pick up the right leg, you can start to bring it forward. Then everybody, when you're ready, come on into Warrior Two. Take your time. Awesome work, ladies. Now here, exhale, let your hands come down to the mat. Lower down your left shin. Just take a breath, lengthening the right leg. It just helps give you a break for a second. Now again, I'm going to turn towards you just so you can see a little bit easier. Bend back in towards the right knee, and then just sink in. Now anybody who's just like, Debbie, I don't want to do all this stuff. Just let me stay and open up. You can just stay and open up. If you're in the mood, you might take your right arm underneath that right leg, and you can totally have your hands on blocks. You can stay like that and maybe curl the left toes under. Now you can stay like that, or you can start to slide the left leg forward so it comes all the way through, and you're in a seat. And then you can take this right leg, you can give it a little bit of a wiggle. Now, a couple different things you can do here. You can stay seated. You can do same hand, same leg. You can do opposite hand to leg to open it up. Or some of you might want to keep the arm underneath. See if you can pop the bum, lift up your left leg. You can even just tap your left toes to your right toes. You don't even have to lift your bum. Yes, excellent variations. Now, ultimately, you're going to end up back in a lunge. Go for it, Amy, if you want to. You can let yourself pick up, swing the left leg all the way back. It's like nothing ever happened. So if nothing ever happened, you were fine. Good. Yeah. Excellent. Make some noise. I can't hear you. Good. Now, when you're ready, the down dog is going to take your right leg up to the sky. And if you want, the final moment on this side is scissors. So if you're not in the mood, it's totally okay. Or if you don't want to go to down dog first, you're going to start to bend your elbows, push that right leg out. My left leg didn't even leave the floor. You might pick up the left leg or just try to stretch that right leg away from you. Good. Yeah, nice jump. Let yourself have some fun with it. Awesome. And then however you want to, we'll just end up in downward facing dog. Right leg can go up to the sky. Some of you might want to flip your dog. Give yourself the space to experiment for a moment. And then either take a moment in down dog or child's pose. We're just going to go right to the left side in a second. So when you are ready, left leg can reach. Step the left foot forward, Warrior Two. Now at first, just take a second to be here. The half moon thing is just a little fun thing. So think reversing your warrior. Again, chest to the side of the room rather than the floor. Now as you come on up and over to side angle, you can let the left arm rest and you can stay. Now you can take your more traditional half moon or even chakrasana when you reach back for the foot with just the top hand. If you want to try the bottom hand too, you might find it easier if you bring your left hand behind you now so you're not shifting around as much. Look down, right hand to right hip, and then just start to shift into your left foot. Go slow, try to keep your chest open to the side. Maybe you're starting to reach back, right hand to right foot. I don't know if I'm getting it with the left hand on this one, but maybe you reach back with both hands, but try to open your chest to the side of your mat, not to the floor, side of the mat, not standing split. Give another breath. As calm and controlled as possible. Release. Come back. You can lengthen your left leg. Now here's where you go in a triangle. Left hip draws back. Left arm extends. Coming into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Now, totally your call. You can just stay here. Nothing else has to happen. Or if you want, right hand comes down, ground down, spin to the outer edge of the right foot, and take the left leg up to the sky. And you don't have to hold the leg. You can just float it. Just letting yourself come on in. Yes. And then when you're ready, left foot comes back up between your hands. Warrior Two, like nothing ever happened. And then just facing the front of the mat. Exhale your hands down. Lower the right shin. pull back, lengthen your left leg. So this is actually like a resting moment. Then I'm gonna turn to face you again. So when you're ready from there, bend in towards your left knee. Now, we end up back in this position. So if you don't feel like floating the right leg forward or any of that fun stuff, just stay in the lunge for a moment. If you do want to try to float it through, left arm is underneath the left leg. Blocks can help as long as it doesn't hurt your wrist, because sometimes it can be a lot on your hands. And then just think of trying to pull that right leg up. Maybe it's floating, mine dragged, and then bringing it through. And then now you're just kind of sitting in this little funky lunge with your left leg up. And then from here, you can use same hand, same leg, you did that. Opposite hand to leg, that's something new. You can pick up your bum and balance if you want to balance. Yeah, you can take your feet together. And just remember, eventually we're going to end up back in a lunge. Good, you got it, Lauren, go for it. Yes. Now, just remember, lunge, if you want, you can just simply put your left foot down, use your block just to help you get a little lift, swing that right leg back. If it helps at all, the scissors are the last thing, and then we sit down. So if that gives any difference. Now, when you're ready from there, down dog, left leg might come up to the sky, or if you want to, just let the left leg start to reach on the outside of the left arm. You can extend the left leg forward, coming into scissors, playing for a second if you want to. Yeah, and then eventually, downward facing dog. And eventually it's just going to take you down to a seat. Good, nice jumping. Now, this time, bye Deb, have a good day. We're going to be heading towards, thank you, we're going to be heading towards half pigeon. So you can pick whether you want to bring your right leg or left leg forward. No tricks. Once we're here, we're here. So you can come into half pigeon and let yourself sink in. If for any reason it's kind of getting into your back at this point, if you'd rather lay on your back and come into the figure four shape, go right ahead and do so. And I promise there's no trick. It's going to be half pigeon on one side, half pigeon on the other side, and then a twist. So if you want to do something more casual, not more casual, like if you want to do something more supported, maybe you'd rather come into frog. You're in a good place for that. If you want to come back into Baddha Konasana, just more that I want to give you a chance to get grounded after all of the movement. And then just take a handful of breaths here, whatever position you're in. Don't be afraid to let yourself close your eyes and kind of settle down a little bit more, because I'm not going to try to trick you and make you get up and do a bunch of other stuff. We're grounded now. Oh, 5 more breaths on this side if you are in a one-sided position. And try to let the breaths be a chance to let go a little bit. I don't know about you, but I know in my own body that practice felt kind of heavy. Like I wanted to move, I wanted to float, but it was a bit of a challenge to make those things happen. And maybe you didn't feel that, you know, maybe you did. But either way, it's okay. Just letting yourself be in the moment, be in this practice, see what's going on right now, not what's ahead of you, not what's behind you. And then if you're in the half pigeon shape, take the opportunity now to let yourself switch to the other side. If you're in a different position and you just want to balance it out a little bit in a different way, do whatever's going to help you. And take your time. There's no rush. Just give yourself the space if there's a different variation or something you'd like to do to ground yourself, challenge yourself. And just give it a handful more breaths where you are.
then ultimately we're going to end up laying on our back just so you can take a twist. So you choose though, if you want to move through a down dog or a flip, you're welcome to. If it's just more comfortable at this point to swing the back leg forward, maybe hug your knees into your belly, come to your back. Just give yourself a moment to pause however you'd like to. And then just in your own time, you can release the arms out to the side, or maybe you're using your hands to help guide the twist deeper. That's your choice. But let your legs drop off to one side. You can just pause for a moment, letting yourself kind of feel the unwinding in your low back, but maybe now that you've got more room in your hips and your legs, maybe it actually feels kind of nice just to let it go. And then just when it seems like it's the right time for you, you can let yourself switch to the other side. And from here, we're just going into Shavasana. So if you want to stay in a twist longer, or if there's a different position you'd rather shift into. And then when you're ready, you can stay in the twist, or you can let yourself shift onto the back. And just giving yourself a moment to pause. And I want to read you something. I tend to like to just pick up this particular book and just open and see what I land on. And this just happened to be what I land on. It's not planned, but it feels appropriate. We say namaste in class quite a bit, but do we really know what it means? And this gives a really interesting spin from the tantric belief, which is another study of yoga. But general explanation first is namaste is the gesture used to acknowledge the completion of a yoga practice and is commonly used in India for greetings and partings. The word and accompanying gesture combine to convey a respectful acknowledgement of one other's embodied divinity. Ways of translating namaste include, I bow to the divine light in you, and I salute the light in you. And I honor that place where you and I recognize our interconnectedness, which are probably the more popular translations or the more common translations. But the one that they also put in here that was translated by Ram Dass, and I really think it's beautiful. I honor that place in you where the entire universe resides, where lies your light and your shadow, your love and your truth, your uniqueness and your peace. When you are in that place, and you and I are in that place in me, our light as individuals expands to enhance the luminosity of the greater shared tapestry of all life. And I just feel at this particular time that might even be more potent, with all of the division, or the I don't want to say all of the division that seems to be happening in the country, the world, that we have to remind ourselves we're all one. We're all from the same source. Whatever you think that source is, it's all the same source. And just take a moment to be a little bit heavier on the mat.